Most puppy problems don't start with training. They start before your puppy ever comes home. In this video, I'm going to walk you through what to look for when choosing a puppy and, just as important, what to avoid, so you can start with the best possible foundation. I've got about 10 points here that I'm going to go through. First of all, choosing a puppy is a very personal matter, and you're going to make a commitment for the puppy's life. So that can be for 15 years or more. You have to ask yourself, what is your lifestyle? Do you even have time for a puppy? There are lots of work in the first couple of weeks and months. Can you make the commitment to spend the time with the puppy? You can't just bring it home like a potted plant and put it on a shelf and then water it once a week, even once a day. It's a ongoing time commitment, especially for the first couple of weeks. So you got to be prepared to put in the work, so you're going to have a good relationship with your puppy down the road. Why are you getting this puppy? What's the purpose? Do you want a hiking buddy? Do you want a couch potato? Do you want a dog for sports? There's agility, there's scent detection, there's herding. This is what I do. I think you got to have in mind, what is the purpose? What are you going to do with this puppy? Do you want a small pup? Do you want a big pup? Now's the time to make those decisions before you are confronted with any kind of puppies that just steal your heart. Your brain has to work through first and make decisions on exactly what you're looking for. The next thing to consider is, where am I going to get my puppy? Am I going to go to a breeder, or am I going to go to a rescue? When you go to a breeder, you have to consider what's the working ability and temperament of the parents. Are there previous litters that you could visit or see videos? And again, it really depends on the purpose why you're getting this puppy. But the more information you can gather at this point, the better informed you will be making that decision and that lifelong commitment. Personally, I'm very interested in health testing. Nowadays, we can send in a cheek swab for DNA testing, and they test for 272. They're not just health tests, but they're also breed traits. But there are a couple of health conditions in Border Collies, which is my choice of breed, that is just, it's important to know what you're getting into. I'm not going to go more into details what they are, but the more information you have, the better informed is your decision going to be. It's really about controlling the controllable. And even if you're never thinking about breeding, you don't want certain health conditions to pop up a couple of years down the road when if you've grown attached, you've trained your dog to do a lot of things, and then all of a sudden their eyesight might go. There are no guarantees, of course, but the more knowledge you have, the better it is. The next point is, ask a lot of questions. And if you don't like the answers, or if they're not able to give you answers, go somewhere else. Don't feel bad about saying, no, this is not for me. If possible, location-wise, I like to go visit a litter around 4, 5, 6 weeks of age. I'm going to see the whole litter. I want to see where they are raised. I want to meet the parents, or at least the mother. I want to get a feel for, are these friendly dogs? What is their temperament like? Again, it's a fact-finding mission, getting information. And typically at that age, I can pick a puppy. And there are so many ways we pick a puppy. Sometimes I've picked a puppy from a picture where they were just a few days old, and it was a totally emotional choice, and it has worked for me. But it doesn't have to be that way. I've also been with a litter where it's just each one of them could have been the one. They were all very even. There wasn't a scared one or a bold one. They were just very even, and any one of them could have been the one for me. So I ended up picking the one that I just liked the looks of. As I mentioned, meeting the parents is a really important thing. If you can see what they're like, is she outgoing? Is she friendly with people? You can ask questions. What's she like with children? What's she like with other dogs? And it doesn't all have to be perfect, but the more information you can gather, because there's a really big genetic component when it comes to temperament. I've seen that firsthand with my own dogs, and I'm really big on looking for the parent's temperament right now. And of course, working ability if you choose a working breed. What do the puppies look like? Do they have healthy, shiny coats? Is there food and water available? Are the pens clean? Are they moving well? Or is there anyone that seemed to have like mobility issues? Just watch them play and interact with each other and how they respond to you going in there. And then ideally, most puppies get their first shots at a vet's office. So there's going to be a health test involved there just to check for some common things like a heart murmur, or their, how is their bite? You know, do they have an underbite, an overbite, or are their teeth properly developed? With male puppies, sometimes you can feel the testicles at this point. Sometimes it's just a little bit too early, but do not be scared to ask questions. That's my biggest takeaway here. Picking a puppy is always a crapshoot, but you want to stack the odds in your favor. If you're going for a certain look, pick a puppy you like. You're going to be living with it for a long time, so you're going to enjoy looking at it. Don't pick a puppy that doesn't suit your aesthetics or whatever you enjoy. And you don't have to justify that to anybody other than yourself. So let's go about some red flags. A big one is the breeder not allowing you to visit the puppies in their home. And I understand that there are health concerns, that they don't want you to bring diseases into their litter. So, you know, common hygiene, washing your hands, and all these things would be great. I could even live with just seeing the puppies and not even touching them. But if they just say, no, we don't allow people on our property. You just got to wonder what's going on there. There might be a puppy mill. There might be dozens of litters on the ground. There might be all kinds of different breeds there. If you don't know, knowledge is power. I would walk away. Just go with your gut here. If something feels off, go somewhere else. There's lots and lots of puppies out there. Another red flag is if they might send you pictures, you can see videos, but they can be staged. There's so much you can do with that. But when you pick up the puppy, they're going to meet you somewhere off-site. And for it has to be a really, really good reasons if I would accept that. And I have in the past, actually, because they lived in, one of my puppies came from Saskatchewan, and I was ready to drive out there to pick her up, but they were heading to BC, so I met them somewhere and picked up the puppy. But I talked to them a lot. They sent me pictures. I trusted. I had a good feeling about this, and I wasn't wrong that they were good people. But if you have very little information and they just want to meet you in a parking lot somewhere, hand over the puppy, here's your money, just treat it like a red flag. And if it doesn't feel right, then say, no thanks, I don't feel comfortable with this. The worst reason for picking a puppy is feeling sorry for them. This has to be a decision that is made both by your brain and your heart. They have to agree on things. And if your brain says no and your heart says yes, that's just not enough for me. Another red flag is, and that's more on a owner's choice, is when they pick litter mates. Well, there's one more, it doesn't have a home yet, and can you take it, or whatever the reasons might be. It is so hard to raise litter mates, and I've seen it many times in my client bases. The puppies spend all their time together. They get attached to each other. They really don't need you, and it's so much harder to form a bond with them and form a relationship with them. You can make this work if you have a lot of time, but it takes more than double the time. You have to separate them. They have to learn to be separated from each other. And there's a lot to involve here. So, you know what? I would just say stay away from it. Don't pick two puppies from the same litter. I like to have, well, right now I've got my new puppy. She's about 2 years younger than my latest. And that's probably the minimum I would go with having dogs. So I can dedicate the time to the youngest that needs it. And yeah, and it's hard. It's a lot of work. Choosing the right puppy is one of the most important decisions you're going to make. But that's only the beginning. In the next video, I'm going to share what I wish I'd known before I got my first puppy, especially around potty training, crate training. It was a long time ago, and I've learned a lot since. and also how the early training sets the tone for a long-lasting relationship in raising a confident, healthy puppy. If you're getting ready to bring a puppy home, or if you already have one, make sure to subscribe to my channel, because I've got a whole series of puppy training videos coming up that you're not going to want to miss.